Home to 106 million people, this is the Philippines. Dubbed as one of Asia's fastest growing economies, the Philippines is a transformative nation booming with opportunities for globalization. Unbeknownst to many, however, is the situation that millions of Filipinos face. According to the National Economic Development Authority, 26 million Filipinos remain poor and a little more than 12 million living in extreme poverty are lacking the means to feed themselves. Tondo, Manila, one of the most congested places in the Philippines, is a land wherein poverty, illnesses, and filth all coexist. A place wherein population is at its peak, while its residents are certainly not. Their way of life, wherein barely getting by, is now the status quo. Ultimately, Tondo serves as a reminder of a state that had failed its people. Another reason this research topic has imposed such significance is because of the current state of family planning in the Philippines. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority in 2013, 2 million out of the 6 million women have unmet need for any modern method of contraception and remain unable to fully exercise their reproductive rights, as stated by the executive order. To aid this problem, President Rodrigo Duterte signed an executive order in 2017 that would financially support the implementation of family planning in the Philippines. Question then arises: will the implementation of family planning help millions attain better quality lives and ultimately uplift the current Philippines demography regime? Unplanned pregnancies no longer come as a surprise to a nation that has not received proper sex education, and worse, has extremely limited means of acquiring contraceptives. In turn, many families face this dilemma: bearing a certain number of children that is beyond their financial capabilities and the inability to reach and commit to their fertility desires. In 2008, approximately 2 million, or 54% of all pregnancies in the Philippines, were unintended. Of the 2 million unintended pregnancies, 90% occurred among women who were using fruitless methods or none at all. Moreover, reports show that in 2012, 610,000 women conformed to abortion, while 100,000 were hospitalized due to procedural complications, and 3 women died every day. Pregnancies, unplanned or not, are not limited to married women. According to reports, 5 girls aged 10 to 14 become pregnant or give birth in the Philippines each day. Furthermore, Commission on Population, or POPCOM, reported that in 2014, there were 1,700 cases of teenage pregnancies. The following year, it rose to 1,986 cases. A very early start at pregnancy limits and robs a woman's chance of being able to attain a degree and eventually being able to provide for the family. The lack of availability of family planning methods in the Philippines implicates the country's demographic regime. In 2016, the Philippine Statistics Authority registered 1,731,289 live births, equivalent to a crude birth rate of about 17 births per 1,000 population. With all of this in mind, it is high time that the Philippines regulates, implements, and fortifies its reproductive health care. Family planning can help remedy the crisis of the Filipino people living in poverty. The various measures of fertility will also be used to provide supporting data. Demographic data include the crude birth rate, age-specific fertility rate, maternal mortality rate, and pregnancy rate. To drive the point further, the demographic transition theory will be used to better explain where the Philippines stands in the model.
When you had your first baby, how old were you?
16.
16 years old.
16 years old, nagka-baby na ako. 16 years old. Tapos, taon-taon po eh.
How old are you now?
30.
Did you want to have so many children?
Hindi ko naman po ginusto yung maraming anak po ko. Siyempre, hindi rin po ako nakapag-plan na pumunta ng center. Kaya po nagkakaroon siya ng sunod-sunod. Hindi po ako nakapunta ng center.
If you could go back to being 16 years old, How many children would you choose to have?
3 children.
You'd have 3. Why?
Tatlo. Tatlo. Ganyan, pinakamagandang ano.
A rapid population growth in developing countries ultimately hinders economic development, only entrapping those who are already in the poverty cycle and those to come. The Philippines is experiencing a slow demographic transition due to its continued high fertility rates. Furthermore, unlike its Southeast Asian neighbors, the Philippines has not reached a demographic transition in the past decades. As a country is able to provide its citizens with better opportunities with regard to standard of living, there are less problems to arise. For example, developments in economic, educational, social, and healthcare sectors have caused a drop in mortality rates since the 1950s. Taking consideration, providing many developing countries with access to family planning could prevent 53 million unintended pregnancies, abortions, and 150,000 maternal deaths each year. This, in turn, affects the maternal mortality rate. Developed countries also have better reproductive healthcare services such as widely spread sex education and availability of contraceptives. Taking into consideration the nation of Japan, since the 1970s, women have been gaining better employment. As a consequence, they are more likely reluctant to give up their careers to start a family. Hence, many women opt to settle down much later in life. It is therefore important that we see the advantages that family planning will give not just on socio-economic grounds, but demographic as well. It can constitute and shape a better demographic identity, specifically targeting those living below or near the poverty line. For the case of the Philippines, a full implementation of the reproductive health law is the key to lowering fertility rate.